people that won't leave. What is threatening about divesting on one piece? The problem isn't the protests, it's what they're protesting. It goes against what our country is funding. Block the barricade until Palestine is free. Block the barricade until Palestine is free. When I was 7, I learned a lesson from Cuban Easy E. What was it again? Oh yeah, fuck the police. Hey y'all, listen, I'm gonna try to keep this as brief as possible. I wanted to just go live real quick because I have been paying attention. And as a matter of fact, I thought about going live this morning, but that's a whole other conversation because Black lives still matter. Black lives are still under attack, and us recognizing how interconnected it is, the other intersections beyond just our race and ethnicity, but also our international causes. My name is Jamaica Miles, co-founder, executive director of All of Us, and wanted to make sure that folks are aware that what's happening right now, whether you are paying attention to what's happening in the United States with folks being snatched from the streets, if you are paying attention to the fact that yet again, the state of Israel is continuing its genocide against Palestinian people, free Palestine, that this is all interconnected. And I just want to try to keep it as brief as possible. And I know y'all are laughing right now because I have a hard time, but let's be real. The violence enacted against Black and brown bodies at the behest of the United States is interconnected to those that are sitting in seats of power. We are talking about white supremacy, y'all. So here in New York State, because that's where I'm at, we have watched time and time again that behind the wall, Black bodies in particular are being abused, neglected, and murdered. The lynching of Robert Brooks was just one instance that caught our attention, but we know that there are so many more. We, in our communities across New York State, still see police brutality, the enactment of snatching bodies and deciding who is innocent and who isn't every single day, and how those bodies are treated. So, if we recognize that here in New York State, right? Because New York State is held up as some special pinnacle of progressiveness, right? No, it's bullshit. And I can't say it enough. And it pisses me off time and time again because Kathy Hochul has been leading the charge in strong support of the state of Israel since last year. She stood up. I'm always going to stand for Israel. It doesn't matter what Israel does. And I said it before and I'll say it again. She said the same thing about the corrections officers in her actions, that she stood up and said, this is unacceptable. When we watched the lynching of Robert Brooks on film, that she wanted them fired. She didn't call for them to be arrested. She didn't call for them to have criminal charges laid against them. She said they needed to be fired. And then she went on to negotiate with them to make sure that they had raises. Then she made sure that those that went back to work had no disciplinary issues. Because if you go back to the job that you already were abusive in, if you go back to the situation in which you were already abusing, neglecting, and murdering Black and brown bodies, you shouldn't have consequences because you stood up and you illegally were striking that position. No, nothing to see here, folks, because she so badly wanted to resolve this issue that isn't resolved. So heads up, remember that on Sunday, March 23rd, we are going to be at the New York State Capitol at 2 p.m. If you haven't already gone to our Facebook or Instagram or any place else to find the bit.ly, make sure that you register and show up for the Families and Friends Speak Out that's going to be on Sunday, March 23rd at the New York State Capitol. Show up at the corner of South Swan and Washington, right by the Capitol. But I digress. Those bombs that are being dropped, the fact that Israel continues its assault not only on Gaza, but also on the West Bank, that it never completely came to a halt, and that it is fully supported by the resources of the United States. Why? This is colonizer 101, y'all. Here in the United States, every single day, we should remember how this land was created. It is stolen land that then was built on the backs of enslaved Africans. And those very people and their descendants have never received reparations, have never had full and equal rights.
and to this day are treated as second-class citizens. I mean, gosh, are we even at second class when it comes to this country? Because again, if you look at our jails and prisons and how the individuals are being treated, the dehumanization, the fact that there was violence against their bodies, those same acts that are perpetuated by the state of Israel against Palestinians, again, with the full support of the United States, because where did they learn it from? Where do you think they got this grand idea that you can take an entire group of people and dehumanize them, call them violent, say that they are acting out, that they are a danger to society, and then treat them any way you want to and have the support of other countries? Hello, the United States. And it is our dollars, money that we ask for, that we deserve to be invested in our communities for the programs and services that we need, the reparations that we never got, the fact that our families that currently have people inside our jails and prisons are concerned every single day whether or not they're going to come back out. And knowing that even when they do come home, that it is going to be a lifetime of trauma that they are dealing with, because they are terrorized inside our jails and prisons every single day. And so are the Palestinian people living under terrorism from the state of Israel. Those two countries working together, regardless of who happens to be sitting in the Oval Office. The state of Israel has had moments when it stopped its terror, albeit momentarily, or at least it backed off when a United States president stood up and said, hey, listen, you've gone too far. But that's not where we are right now. Our Black liberation is absolutely tied to the Palestinian liberation, because it is the United States government that is leading the charge and in full support of both of those things. The symbolic act of the current president forcing the removal of Black Lives Matter in Washington, D.C., that was a call, y'all. It was absolutely a blatant example to say, I want you to know that your lives don't matter. And when they talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion can no longer be talked about, they're saying they can no longer talk about us. And when the governor of New York State will not hold accountable the individuals under her command that are brutalizing the men and women currently incarcerated, she too is saying that our lives don't matter. As we know, we disproportionately make up who is sitting in those cages behind the wall. We have to stand up. We have to rise up. It cannot be that we simply are waiting or complaining or wringing our hands or on social media. Your first chance, if you're in the capital region, or your next chance, not your first, but your next chance, is Sunday, March 23rd at the New York State Capitol at 2:00. I'm going to drop in the Facebook chat right now the link that you can go to and register and share with the people that you know to show up and speak out and stand together and demand that the lives of people that are family members, are community members who are currently incarcerated, that their lives matter. That New York State does not have a death sentence, and we don't want a death sentence. That individuals who are supposed to be caring for others are supposed to be responsible for them and be held accountable for their actions. And that we can't simply go back to the status quo because Kathy Hochul said, I fired 2,000 people. And then Craig Apple said, hey, I wanted to hire some of them. Because if that's the state that we're living in, then we know we've got work to do. So as I'm coming up on 10 minutes, and this was supposed to be a three-minute segment, I'm going to close. But please make sure that you show up on Sunday at the state capitol at 2:00. Also, show up whenever you can for a free Palestine rally, because we're calling for the same thing. We're calling for an end to state-sanctioned violence. We're calling for U.S. dollars not to be used in the perpetuation of violence and rape and murder against Black and brown people. We're calling for an end to individuals being snatched from our streets for either their race, their religion, or their political affiliation. As someone who very much was arrested for her political affiliation. Y'all know what the hell I'm talking about. This isn't new. And if we want it to stop, we have to be the ones to stop it. So I look very much forward to seeing a whole bunch of y'all on Sunday, March 23rd at 2 o'clock at the New York State Capitol. You ready?